Hey guys, it's Vampire Mike from Sega CD Universe, and I wanted to talk about Homegrown Horrors Volume 3. If you know me, I'm a big boutique Blu-ray guy. I really like Vinegar Syndrome and a lot of the other labels, Saturn's Core, TerrorVision, Culture Shock, etc. And one of Vinegar Syndrome's main things that they put out is these homegrown horror sets. And it's like regional horror that's underground, may have gotten VHS or early DVD releases, or like those cheap multi-pack releases where they would put like 4 or 6 movies on a DVD set, and they give them some love. They upgrade them and make them look really nice. Sometimes they're shot on video movies, sometimes they're 16 millimeter, and then they put them out in these really nice box sets and give them extras and interviews and all that type commentary, all that type of stuff. So they really show them a lot of love, and sometimes they do so much work on movies that don't even really deserve it, to be completely frank. So this is the third one in the set. I'm probably going to do a video in the future with all 3 sets I own and like what my favorite movies are in the sets. But since this is the newest one and I just got it, shout out to my buddy William for selling me his copy after he was done with it. I wanted to talk about the 3 movies in this set, which are Hauntedween, Deadly Love, and Revenge. So comes in this nice big cardboard slipcase, and here are the 3 films. Just going to briefly touch upon each of them and say what I liked and what I didn't. So the first, I'm going to go in order of what I watched. So Deadly Love is by the same writer-director as Moonstalker, which is from Homegrown Horrors Volume 2. And I love Moonstalker. It's a silly little camp slasher, campground slasher, and it was kind of like, I guess, lost on VHS for years, or had a really cheap DVD and like a bootleg Blu-ray, and I thought it was awesome. It's very fun. This one, I was very excited to watch, but I was ultimately a little let down by it. It's about this woman and her boyfriend, and the boyfriend dies. I'm trying to remember why he dies. I think he dies because he's coming home with the girlfriend, and the caretaker of the house either doesn't like him or mistakes him as an intruder, I forget, and they shoot him, and they end up burying him, and then the girlfriend eventually gets pushed to suicide, and that's the beginning of the film, but it's slow. Then the girlfriend's niece, the girlfriend who died, her niece moves into the home years later. I guess she inherits it, and the boyfriend rises from the grave and starts killing people in the town that, like, I guess the caretaker and the people in the house that did him wrong, and the people that pushed the girlfriend to suicide and bullied her in the town. So it sounds really cool, like a zombie type of movie or a zombie slasher, but there's so many lulls in the film, and it's very slow in ways that it sort of meanders a lot. Did I hate it? No, but it wasn't as good as Moonstalker or what I had hoped it to be. So this is one on my rewatch pile. This is one of those ones that now I know what I'm getting into. I'm going to rewatch it one day and hopefully enjoy it a little more than I did. Then I watched, Revenge. Now, unbeknownst to me, this is a sequel to the, I think, first shot-on-video movie ever released on tape or something called Blood Cult. Why they put a sequel in here out of nowhere, I don't know. And Blood Cult just got a Blu-ray announced by the Gausser Video, I think, which is a label or a partner label of Vinegar Syndrome. So I watched Blood Cult, and I watched Revenge. Blood Cult was on, I think, YouTube. Very similar in tone. I think it's the same writer and director. Very similar story. It's about people dying in this town, and the police station and all like the vigilantes are finding out there's this cult that's around that is murdering people and then looking to summon this god, this evil god, by doing these ritualistic murders. Has a little bit of the, cop film type of stuff going on in the first movie, which isn't in the set. This one I liked better than the first one. The first one has a lot to do with, I think, this older policeman, but he's like geriatric, and he's trying to figure out who did it, and then there's a twist at the end. This one is like more small town feeling, kind of a little more like backwoodsy, and there's these people that are trying to figure out. I think one of them is is one of them a reporter? I don't remember, but one of them is a hometown guy who's following the murder of his brother, and the other one is a woman whose husband had gotten killed. And they join forces and they try to figure out who's doing all these ritualistic killings in the small town. And there's a twist at the end, which was cool. And a silly rubber mask, which I thought was cool as well in the film, which they sort of spoil the rubber mask there on the cover. But pretty good. I liked it better than Blood Cult. It wasn't like action-packed and phenomenal, but it was definitely pretty fun. I could see it having that sort of campy cheese that people like back in the 90s. This is from 1986, by the way, and Deadly Love is from 87. And finally, we have the best movie in the bunch for me, and the movie that I watched last because I've seen it prior, Hauntedween. This cropped up on my radar from a VHS group I'm in on Facebook, where I just look at pretty much silly pictures of VHS covers because I don't collect VHS or have a VCR any longer, and I say, wow, this looks really cool. What the hell is it? And then I end up finding it either on the internet or on YouTube, and I've watched this maybe 2 times in the past, and it's pretty fun. Admittedly, I always mix it up with Hollow Gate, which is a culture shock Blu-ray that got released recently about Halloween killings. So this movie, which I think is better than Hollow Gate, I'll say it kind of goes over that movie a little bit. This movie was pretty cool. It's about this young man, this kid, who his family owns a haunted house attraction, and he sneaks in and he wants to like help and stuff. And they're like, no, you're too young. You're only whatever, however, he's 13 or whatever. And he ends up, I think he meets a girl in there, or if he brings her in, I can't recall, and he murders her in the haunted house. So then the family tries to extradite him and sort of move him to like a small town that like nobody knows who he is, and I guess get him away from it all and try and kind of rehabilitate him. He gets older, and his caretaker, I think it was his grandmother, passes away. I don't think he kills her. I think she passes away. And taken away by his mother to live in a remote cabin. 20 years later, he moves back to the town, and there's a local fraternity that's trying to raise money for their dues because they're going to lose their fraternity because they don't have enough money to pay the school. He goes back and he says to the fraternity people, here's the keys to the local haunted house. I own it. Why don't you run a show here, like a haunted house show, and raise money so you can pay your dues? And they're like, it's a win-win. And they're like stupid college kids, kind of. And he's very like dark and sinister, and you know he's like sort of got bad intentions. He ends up going into the haunted house with a mask on, and he starts killing people during the show, and people think it's fake when it's obviously real. So that's the gist of that movie. A little bit of a weird ending that you're cliffhangery. Could there be a sequel? You know, but interesting because it catches you kind of off guard too. It's like, oh, huh. So I like this movie. Is it like phenomenal or one of my favorite like Halloween movies? No. I mean, like Satan's Little Helper is very fun if you've seen that one, and the Hollow Gate is okay. But Hauntedween is definitely one of those fun ones that you probably haven't heard of. You know, that went under a lot of people's radars, and if you want something kind of cheesy and goofy, low budget fun, I think you can do far worse. So this is my favorite out of the 3. And like I said, I will probably do a video review of all 3 sets, just talking about my favorites and least favorites from each set. So overall, I thought this set was all right. I was a little disappointed in these 2. I didn't think they were great. They were definitely middle of the road, decent for me. Deadly Love needs a rewatch, and Hauntedween is the gem of the bunch. So there's always one that I really like in all 3 of the sets, and that title goes to Hauntedween. So let me know, guys, if you have any affinity for these. Maybe you like them when you were younger. You've seen them on YouTube or on TV or something, you know, like 3 in the morning on some weird channel. I want your input, and thanks, guys, for watching. It's Vampire Mike from Sega CD Universe. Be good.